Welcome to Archery Talk 101 podcast, your guide to better archery skills. We'll bring you the latest tips, tricks, and expert advice, but that's not all. We'll also have interviews with top archers and industry professionals and reviews of the latest gear and equipment and much more. Hey, my name is Roy Canterbury. I'm your host today on Archery Talk 101, and we're Laden on the line with us, and we're going to talk about his exciting world of archery. Welcome to the show.
Hey, thank you for having me, Roy. I appreciate it.
Yeah, it's always fun to get you on somebody on the line and talk with you. And for those listening to the podcast, whether on Spotify, I also want to let you know that it's on Audible. You can listen to it there, and you can listen or you can watch the video of it being recorded on the Archer Talk 101 Facebook group. There's a community where we help archers help other archers out, from beginning to advanced. And then you can also watch the video on my YouTube channel, Learn to Fix It Yourself. I have all kinds of stuff out there, but main thing is, we got a lot of archery out there. So let's get started with you. Let's tell us a little something about you and basically introduce yourself to our audience.
For sure, man. Well, I am, for the most part, born and raised in the state of Missouri. I only spent about a year and a half outside of the state, but live here in Northeast Missouri, where I spent most of my life growing up, just outside of a little town called Edina. Was raised on a family farm that my great-grandfather and grandfather started back in the 60s and actually almost the 50s. And went off to school and ended up meeting a gal that just so happened to be that she grew up not too far from me. And as life went on, we ended up getting married and had the ability to move back. I'm now about 15 miles south of that small town in the next county south. And her and I are raising our three little boys here, but I'm an outdoor industry guy, I guess you could say. I came fresh out of college and had a little experience shooting competitive archery, mainly in the IBO world and in the bow hunter class, and had the opportunity to go compete in worlds and was shooting competitively still, mainly 3D. I didn't do too much of the indoor archery or really got into much other than IBO competitions and a few ASAs here and there. But it led to me getting to know people in the outdoor industry and really deciding that after a college education and a little bit of college athletics that, the outdoor industry was really where I wanted to try to start a career and build kind of a resume of occupations, and was fortunate. I had landed my first job with Remington Outdoors when they were owned by the Freedom Group, was a parent company, and spent about 5 years there and was offered an opportunity to follow one of the VPs there at Remington over to Zeiss Sports Optic, and spent about 3 years there, and got recruited by Bowtech Archery to come over and work for them for about 3 years as a national sales manager. And then I spent the last 7 years working for the Outdoor Sportsman Group. I got recruited to come over and work for them. So went over to start working as an associate publisher of Bow Hunter and Peterson's Bow Hunting magazines, which evolved into much greater things now. And before I was done with my 7.5 years there at the Outdoor Sportsman Group, I ended up taking on the role of associate publisher, then publisher of North American Whitetail, where ended up on their TV show and ended up rolling into a production role there too, and spent quite a bit of time there with those folks, and really just was fortunate all along in each one of those positions to continue to grow to my career in the outdoor industry and work with and meet more new and interesting people with every step of the way, and really just fortunate enough to follow my passion that I had growing up, of being in the outdoors and being a bow hunter and being an archery and bow guru. And it ended up landing me here at Xpedition Enterprises in January. So just been super fortunate and just love every aspect of it. And I guess I'm not so young anymore, but for a guy that just turned 39 to now have 18, almost 19 years in the outdoor industry seems almost impossible. But it's been fun. And you know what they say, time flies when you're having fun. And
right.
been very fortunate, but that's a little bit about me. That was a mouthful. I apologize.
Oh no, that's quite a kind of interesting career there from where you started to where you're at now, and um, that's really um, really interesting. How you take something that you just like doing, and then next thing you know, it's a career, and it's
Yeah.
not really a job because you enjoy doing what you're doing, and that makes it
Just
not a job.
no, it really isn't. There's not a, and no, I would tell folks, like, don't kid yourself. There's been a lot of work to it, over
Oh
the years,
yeah,
and it like you said, it's a job, and there's still job days. But in the majority, man, I've just been so fortunate, and I've been able to enjoy, and like you said, come to work each day with the attitude and the mentality that it's not a job, and sure, there's those days, like I said, but man, in the majority, we have a lot of fun, and it's pretty easy to get yourself motivated to wake back up and go do it all over again the next day.
yeah. What better to go get paid to do something you've done anyway?
That's right. That's exactly right. Now my wife would tell me at times that I've probably taken it a little too far. I know we've had more than one conversation where she'll say, "Do you ever not think about bow hunting, or do you ever not think about bows, or hunting in general?" And I said, it's just I've been wired that way, and I've been fortunate enough that I've continued to have probably more exposure to it than most, I guess you could say, and it just doesn't shut off in most cases. So
Yeah, and I notice you have kind of an old camo pattern.
I do,
The
yeah.
tree bark one. I've still got I still got a whole set of those.
Yeah. Oh yeah, man. Old Mr. Crumley, right?
Yeah.
That founded it, and yeah, we've been within Xpedition Enterprises. We're a portfolio that has about 8 different brands, and one of the brands is Element Outdoors Clothing and apparel. And this piece, I probably should have told you, you didn't see me wearing it, but no, it's okay. It's some second round prototypes that we're working on launching for 2024. So if anybody's paying attention, they might actually get a little sneak peek at what I'm wearing here. But yeah, we're putting it through the test and the thorough and just trying to make sure that we're producing products that our customers and outdoorsmen can enjoy and believe in and invest in with good conscience, and know that they're going to get a good return out of their products. So we're going through that process right now and really testing it out. But yes, we've it's just really neat to see not only the older 2 generations of the outdoor industry, but more importantly, the younger 2 generations of the outdoor industry really start to embrace their heritage and their roots. And you see, patterns like tray bark or out mossy oak bottomland, original bottomland, or some of the original real tree patterns that have come about, or predator or ASAT, or go down the list of the patterns that have come through. Nat gear would be another one. With the boys at the hunting public, you see them quite often wearing that. But to really see the younger generations kind of embrace that heritage and the retro nature of what was developed decades before, in some cases they were even born,
Yeah.
and really enjoy it like we grew up enjoying it. It's been pretty neat, and I've really enjoyed that about the last couple of years of the trends in the outdoor industry, for sure.
Yeah, if I'd known you was going to wear that pattern, I'd have put on mine.
There you go. We could
my,
have
my
matched.
original tree bark.
Yeah, we could have matched, but
Because I
yeah.
have a jacket, I have the pants, I have the shirt, and
Oh yeah.
all in that pattern, and it's like, and it's an old pattern. That was one of my first camo patterns, and
Yep.
and it worked.
Oh
You know,
yeah.
I've seen the picture of Fred Berry wearing a plaid shirt and blue jeans.
Oh yeah. Yep. Yep.
Just something to break up your silhouette. It don't have to be
That's right.
anything fancy.
That's right. Break up that silhouette. Yep. And with deer specifically, the shades that they see, and the things that do and don't match. And I was just talking with some of my buddies the other day that are also conveniently coworkers, and we were talking about like what we tend to wear. With a pattern, does your shirt match your pant, and does your shirt match your hat as well, or your pant match your hat? And I said, I'm just one of those guys that from the time I was, first getting camo, I wanted everything from top to bottom to match. And I said, one of the things that would just rub me sideways, and I had a buddy from Utah that unfortunately has moved on now, or past now, but he a little bit older than me. And man, he might walk in one day and he'd have, a mossy oak breakup country shirt on, and then he'd have a green leaf pan on, and then his hat would be Realtree. And I'd say, man, what are you doing? I can't even hardly take it. And he'd laugh, and he'd say, why, I'm breaking up my silhouette, to your point. He's like, I don't want my torso to match my bottom. I'm a taller guy. I got to make sure that, I'm completely blended in. But I think a lot of that comes from, that nature to match and make sure everything's perfect. And, for me, comes from probably my roots in bows and archery. You think about me coming through a phase where my first compound bow, and you'll probably laugh at me when I say this, but my first compound bow that I actually got to invest money in as I was a little older. I was 15 years old. I had just got my driver's permit, and my grandpa and my uncle and I went down, and my uncle said, hey, I'll buy half the bow for you for Christmas and your birthday, and if you buy the other half. And I said, man, I'm in. And so we went down to Apache Flats Archery in Jeff City, Missouri, down in central Missouri, and they were a Matthews dealer. And they had a Q2 XL, a Matthews Q2 XL on the wall. And my other uncle had a Q2 XL as well. And so I was going to get a Q2 XL. And, I think back to how I had matching, fuzzball string suppressors on there, yarn suppressors and everything, man. I was very particular about what was on that bow. And that I guess you could say that characteristic of how I purchased my archery equipment and set up my bows has carried on all the way through, 25, 20, almost 30 years later at this point in time. And to this day, if you walk downstairs, you're going to see that my fletchings probably match some accent up on my bowstring, or, somewhere set up on my bow. And so I guess it's carried right over into my apparel is what I'm getting at.
Yeah. Well, and not my first bow, but I got a Matthews Q2.
Yep.
And I had that one for a while until I bought the archery store. It was on sporting goods, had fish and, bait and tackle and stuff. And when I went down to PSE for their dealer school, because I couldn't be a Matthews dealer because there was one too close.
Yep.
And so I was a PSE dealer, and Browning and Martin and
oh yeah.
And so I went down there and I said, okay, I'm shooting a Matthews Q2. Which one should I get? Because part of the dealer school is you got a bow.
Yep.
But you're paying quite a bit for the going down for the class.
Oh yeah.
So giving you a bow is maybe
relative. Yeah.
The cost of the thing, maybe a third of it is the bow.
Yep.
Yep. And so I got the PSE Carrera.
Oh, okay.
And I still have it. And that was in 2001, PSE Carrera. And I'm thinking, okay, because that Matthews Q2 shot really well. I liked it, and it, back then you didn't know any better shooting through paper. I said first shot was perfect, right through paper. Well, that's not just tune, but that's all your form. It also helps on that.
Right. Yep.
So I got that, and after I got it and got all set up and started shooting, it's like I had no problem selling the Matthews.
Yeah.
And it was rated at 320 feet per second, and the Matthews like 305 or something.
Oh yeah, isn't that something?
Yeah. Back in 2001, bows are rated at 320 feet per second.
And that was fast. That was fast at that point in time.
Well, even now, you don't have too many much faster than that.
No, we kind of, we talk often about where the bow industry is headed, and especially, for us here at Xpedition Archery too, with us introducing a brand new riser material this year with Magnite, and really, feeling that we've got an innovative material, and I guess you could even label it as, no guess about it, you could label it as an innovation to something that's being done within the bow industry, the bow segment specifically, with introducing a new metal with these properties, and when you look at that, we just talked about how I hate to say that the bow industry has plateaued at all, but it's just not growing as fast as what it was at that time, like in the 90s and the early 2000s, and the things that were happening, and, it was a big deal for somebody to grab another, 5 feet or 10 feet or 15 feet per second, or to introduce a new cam system. And, at that point in time, there was the Q2 and the Q2 XL were both solo cam bows. Right. And there were a lot more out there at that point in time. And, if you were to look across the marketplace now, I think, and I'd have to confirm this, but I'm pretty sure Bear is the only brand that I'm aware of that's making a solo cam bow in an adult model. Right now, I'm pretty sure that one of the models that they worked on with the hunting public guys was a solo cam bow, or a single cam bow. But just to think about where we've come from, and that was right on the heels of that Q2 and Q2 XL. I did not get an overdraw for that bow, but my uncle's Golden Eagle that he had before he got his Q2 XL, it definitely had an overdraw mounted to the backside of the riser at that point in time, and just thinking about, how far we've come, it's pretty neat to see, man, just what all's happened. Yet at the same time, we haven't, to your point, they were still shooting 320 feet per second at that point in time. And 335 and 345 and maybe a 350 or 360 every once in a while, but we haven't got too far away from there.
Yeah, you're not going to get that out of them, because you have to be shooting 70 pounds.
Yep.
350 grain arrow.
Yep.
30-inch draw length, one knock point. That's it.
Yeah. Yep.
If you vary from that at all, you're dropping your speed down.
Yep. That's
exactly right. And I shoot 29-inch. I'm 29 and a half, but I shoot 29. So I can wear heavy coats. I don't hit my arm. I have a peep in there. I have a kisser button on there. I put a loop on there. I put string dampeners on the strings and cables both.
Yeah.
The Y cable and the control cable, because that version that I have of my newer one has got a control cable. But the Carrera's it's just got the one. It's a single cam.
Yep.
And, I'll put them on there, and pretty much I'll take the string. If I can pluck it and make a sound out of it, I put a dampener on it.
There you go.
Quiet. Go with quiet. And so I've got all that stuff on there, and I'm not going to get 320. I don't want 320. Space blades are hard to control when you start getting fast.
They are. Yep. You get into planing issues. Yep.
I shoot a Muzzy 3-blade, 100 grain. A Muzzy 4-blade, I think 125 or 145 grain was my first one. My very first broadhead that was recommended to was Muzzy. I've never shot any other broadhead. It's like,
so you stayed through the whole time. Yeah.
That's been from what, the 80s, 90s? I forget when it was.
Yep. Yeah, the Muzzy was the Muzzy 3-blade and the 4-blade both. I can remember the old Green Ferrule 4-blades, which they probably would have been in that early 2000s, late 90s era right there when I was shooting those. But yeah, Muzzy was as good as it got at that point in time. And I remember I strayed a little bit from the path of a Muzzy and started shooting at that point in time the Rocky Mountain 2-blade sniper, which ended up being eventually acquired by Faradyne and the Rage brand. And that was the first mechanical that I spent very much time with. But yeah, it was the Muzzy 4-blade and 3-blade, and I could get it. Never failed. And at that point in time, what I didn't understand because I wasn't as well studied, but anytime I put a 3-blade Muzzy on my arrow setup, I was shooting gold tips at that point in time and throw it down range. So it's been late 90s. I was shooting right and high by about three by about 6 inches with that Muzzy at 30 yards. And I could not so you'd have to broadhead tune and adjust your sight and get your setup set up for that broadhead, which I just bugged the tar out of me. But as I got a little bit older and started to understand how to truly tune your bow and to fly, to your point, properly fly a fixed broadhead, I began to have a little better understanding of why that was all happening. But
and in two, I line mine up so the fletching and the broadheads line up. That's where I start.
Yep.
And then on my hunting ones, I have what they call the U bar. It's a cone shaped washer, the rubber O-ring, and I can tighten it down. If you tighten it down, loosen it up a little bit, you can change that alignment and get them so they all group the same.
Yep.
They do not group like field tips.
No.
But I don't care.
Yep.
Because I have a bow I hunt with, and I have another bow. Well, I actually have another bow that I haven't even put rest on their side on it yet. But I was when I worked at Cabela's, I was able to get some of the returns that had problems with it.
Yeah,
so I got really cheap, and I fixed it up, and I haven't done anything with it yet. But so I have one I can shoot field tips, and they don't shoot when I shoot field tips out of that bow. They don't hit where I want, but they still group.
Yeah.
Not where my broadheads are going to, but I don't care because I know these broadheads will group.
Yep.
And you can dial them in and get them all set up, and don't worry about it. And if you don't have two bows, then get a sight that has the same receiver. Get two sights with the same receiver, pull one off, put the other one on, and adjust it for the other one. So if you're going to shoot target, put that
Yep.
one on. If you brought it, put the other one on.
Yeah.
Sights are fairly inexpensive compared to buying another whole bow.
Oh yeah, yeah.
Right.
And you can get into a good dovetail site now for, especially, well, you hop on Archery Talk and you search the sales sheets, or even Marketplace, on Facebook
Yeah.
now. You're not necessarily technically supposed to sell all archery stuff on there, but you'd be surprised what you can get into now that's maybe just a little bit used for a very inexpensive price. And like you said, it's nice. It's a lot cheaper, a lot less expensive to own a second sight, than it
Yeah.
is another bow. And you get into, you get a dovetail mounting option where, your bracket doesn't even come off. You can, have a knob or just an Allen key or an Allen screw that you can adjust and pull that dovetail right out and swap the other one right in. And I've done that before myself, and I have several buddies that still do that. They might have two different broadhead setups. They'll have a broadhead setup for out west, bigger game, cut on contact broadhead. Maybe it's 125 grain, or they're trying to get more FOC out of that arrow with.
Right.
And then they've got their whitetail setup back home. They've got a different sight bracket that they just pop in. They're both on dovetails. And then at that point in time, all they're doing is just switching their arrow setup, but yeah, it's a good way, and it's a less expensive way than owning another bow, if
Right.
that's not budget.
Yeah. And then you go do 3D, and that's a different setup. So now, how many bows you want?
Yeah,
Well,
yeah. Depends on how crazy you
more,
are. Well, where's home for you, Roy? I never did ask you.
yeah,
Where.
Nebraska.
Nebraska. Okay.
I'm in
All
the
right.
eastern end of Nebraska between Omaha and Lincoln.
Oh, perfect. Fremont area or where?
Well, you know where Fremont, Omaha, and Lincoln are at?
Yep. Yeah.
Okay, right in the center of all those.
You're right in the center of all of them. Okay.
Yeah.
Very good. Very good.
Ithaca is the town. It's not even a town; it's a village.
Yeah. Yeah.
About
Yep. I've got
168
family.
people. So,
Oh, perfect. I live outside of the metropolis of Leonard, Missouri, which has 62 people. So I know where you're at there as far as it goes. But
yeah, I'll
well,
say you have your traffic jam is two cars behind a combine too, huh?
yeah, that's exactly right. Yep. Yep. And I'm pretty sure that population of 62 might include at least one cat and one dog, depending on who's counting. So yeah, that's kind of how it goes. We've got a three-way stop at our town there, even though it's a four-way intersection, but it's a three-way stop. So one side gets to keep rolling, and they set it up that way because it goes up a little hill, and we've got a grain elevator just to the west there. And a lot of the old grain trucks, if they had to go up the hill and shift down and try to make that corner with a trailer or bed full of grain, they couldn't do it. So they got to kind of keep rolling through the intersection there. Made it easier for them. But
hey, why not?
Yeah, gotta love good old rural America, man.
Yeah, give them the right of way. They need it.
That's right. That's right. Well, do you have your eyes on a big deer this year, or have you filled a tag?
Not yet. I've been looking at some trail cameras
Yeah.
that we put out, and right now everything's at night.
Yeah.
They're all moving at night.
Yeah.
But I did catch two smaller bucks sparring on about 3 different videos.
All
They weren't
right.
sparring really hard. They were just kind of looking at each other, sticking their noses together, kind of wrapping their axe a little bit, and then they kind of walked around. And they both walked off together.
Yep. Yep. Yeah. Well, I'd say this warm weather's probably slowed them just a little bit. It's, here in Northeast Missouri today, and then I think tomorrow and the next 2 days. I didn't look real close, but I think we're gonna have, highs right around 70, if not just a little higher. And it's still the first week in November. You can't pass that opportunity up. If you've got days off, you definitely don't want to sit on the couch, because you're not going to get it done there by any means. But
Yeah,
temperatures could be a little more ideal, but they're not too bad, man. If a guy can get out there, you never know.
yeah, we're just a little bit cooler than you are.
Okay.
We're in the 60s, going to be all 50s and 60s up here.
Yeah.
And, it's going to be nice weather, and I think our rifle season starts this Saturday.
Ours too. Yeah, ours too. Yep. I'm gonna try to get a couple more days in this week if I can here. I've got donuts with Dad tomorrow at school in the morning, so I probably won't make it out in the morning, but maybe tomorrow afternoon.
Yeah.
And see, I would still gotta, kind of like you said, I'd try to get out there, even though the temperatures aren't right. Try to get out there. I'm still seeing several buddies that, come across on Instagram or Facebook that they've tagged a deer today or yesterday when it warmed up a little bit. And so there's a little hope out there.
Yeah. If you're in a spot you want to share your website of where you're at, you can do that if you want, and kind of go through that website.
Love to. I would speak specifically to Xpedition Archery. It's just Xpedition Archery.
That's fine.
Yep, expeditionarchery.com. Man, if anybody gets a chance to go check it out or follow us on Facebook or Instagram, we have reignited the Twitter or X account as well, just trying to keep up with people in that platform. And YouTube, we do have a YouTube page as well. But really, I'll tell you, we've been so focused this year on the launch of the X Lite there that you see in Quentin's hands, launching 2 models. And Xpedition, for those that aren't aware, has been around now for 6-7 years. Was started in Yankton, South Dakota, and was started by another owner than what currently owns it, our current owner, Mark Heck, and had a good little run. And then the folks there in Yankton decided to get out of the business, and Mark had the opportunity to come along behind and invest in the company. He worked together with a great group of people out of Northeast Iowa, and they've moved that factory to Decorah, Iowa. So about 5 hours straight north of me, probably about 4.5, 5 hours straight northeast of you, where you're at there. And man, there's just a great group of people that have been working hard to reestablish a factory. They completely moved it, all the machines. They've been training good old folks out of Decorah, Iowa to build bows and do it right. And they've invested in folks that have archery experience and have worked in different shops. And man, we just got a good old, heart of America company that is striving really hard to improve the brand daily and rebuild the brand's existence in the archery industry. And so, that has gone pretty smooth so far, but we took a real step in the right direction this year. I was mentioning the X Lite and introducing this brand new platform, which is made in large part in all the metal components, the majority of the metal components out of magnite, which is a magnesium alloy. It's a great new metal that has been introduced, and we tried here a couple of years ago to bring that product to marketplace and just didn't have a real good supplier, and probably got ahead of ourselves a little bit and trying to get it to market. And unfortunately, we never did get those bows to market with the X33 and Xloy. Some people heard us call it Xloy before, and we sure didn't make any friends, I guess you could say, out of the dealer marketplace, or even some of the archers and bow hunters out there that put those bows on order the first time we did that. But we got to the point where we just decided as a company, and this is before I was ever working here, that we weren't going to do it if we couldn't do it right. And everybody stayed persistent and they went after it. And this year the X Lite come to market, and we've got a great supplier. We've got a great group of individuals out of Indiana that we're working with that are machining the magnite for the risers and the components. So we've got the riser, the limb pockets, the yoke splitters, the cable stop and the cable guard, like everything really from the ancillary parts on that bolts to that riser. Even the limb pockets are made out of magnite. And I would tell you, like, the big 3 benefits to that are: 1, it's lighter. So it's about 33% lighter than your average 6061 aluminum that's used for the majority of your metal riser bows or aluminum riser bows in the marketplace. So it allows for you to come in quite a bit less in weight when it comes to mass weight. So we're talking about like 3.75 pounds versus a 4.6 or 4.7, 4.8 on your common aluminum bows. It has a lot less vibration to it. So it has an inherent vibration dampening characteristic to it. So where you look at like aluminum, it is about 6% less vibration than aluminum, 6 times less, vibration than aluminum. And with carbon, your commercial grade carbon that's used out there in the marketplace, it's about 20 times less. So that, of course, contributes to a better feel in your hand, a lot less felt recoil or shock as the report of that shot's going off. It also can help with the sound reduction capabilities as well. And then the last or third component to this is just the rigidity of this material. It's a lot more, I would say, as far as from a milling standpoint, it has a lot less error for tolerance. Tolerances are much tighter. So when it comes to, accuracy within archery, anybody that's played around bows, with bows over the years, that, man, the less vibration, the less movement, the more tolerance you have, or tight tolerances that you have, the more accurate or shot after shot consistency that you're going to see out of that bow. And that's one of the things that working with Magnite has really allowed for us, is those much tighter tolerances. So so often what we get right out of the gate when we hand one of these bows to somebody is like, holy smokes, this thing's light, is this carbon? And at the same time that they're asking it, they know, like, no, I'm holding a piece of metal right now, what's different about it? And so then they shoot it and they go, my goodness, like, man, I'm stacking arrows and, I'm 10 yards from a target without a sight or a peep sight in it, and that's just that consistent nature of the milling capabilities of Magnite. So it's been pretty neat to watch this transformation for us. And I think, the biggest thing for us with X-Lite now hitting the market and moving into our second year of the X-Lite platform is just continuing to show up and be consistent for bow hunters out there, and be consistent for archery shops and dealers. And just try to be there. And we're a small company, but we're working hard, and the people are doing their best to strengthen customer service and what we're doing with everybody in every aspect of the archery industry.
Yeah, and if you want to bring up the website for it, you can do that and share your screen, and then we can kind of go through that.
For sure. Yeah. Let me
see
see
on a laptop or on a.
I am. Yeah, I might be able to do that right here. So let me pull that up, because there's a really neat component to what we've done with the website. And when I first, let's see here.
A little green button at the bottom says share screen, and
just
pick your screen and.
Perfect. Let's see if that works.
Yeah, there we go.
Can you see that?
Yep, Xpedition X-Lite.
Yep. So this is the Xpedition X-Lite 31 and 33. So this is the bow. You're going to see very clean cuts to it. It's a synchronized cam system. So you're going to get from a standpoint of timing, for those that are very familiar with cam systems and componentry within bows. These synchronized cams are slayed together, so it's more difficult, is what I'll say. I was gonna say it's very hard. It's more difficult for a bow to come out of time, because basically if the bottom cam moves, the top cam moves. And your timing stays, concentric more times than not. You're seeing more and more archery brands going to this by the synchronized cam system. There's of course a couple brands out there that kind of founded the cam system, as you look at it out there, and have had a lot of proven success with it. So it makes a lot of sense. You're getting very efficient energy coming through that center point of the string there, and allows for you to be again, not to overuse the word, but consistent, but very proficient and productive with energy exertion in your arrow. So cool cuts, awesome cuts. We're working with Doinker. We've got built-in riser dampeners on the back end, top and bottom, and in the front there down low that you see on that X-Lite. 31-inch and a 33-inch. Then that's just 31-inch axle to axle, 33-inch axle to axle. Both carry a 6.5-inch brace height. Both carry an IBO speed of 335. So that's what you're looking at from a chrono speed out of the box there, with that common setup of 5 grains per inch and so on that everybody's using. So the website, though, one thing I would tell you that is very important to address right out of the gate is our custom bow builder. So this has created a little bit of chatter in the industry, I guess you could say. It's another thing that we're really looking to innovate in how we come to market. We are, like I said, a fairly small company. We're operating about 100 dealers, whereas, a Matthews or a Hoyt or a Bowtech has, closer to 1,200 plus. So we don't get the coverage, and have not been able to align the coverage that a lot of those bigger manufacturers have, which has been good for us, because we're able to kind of crawl before we walk and walk before we run as we grow here. Yeah. But one of the ways that we kind of sat down as a company and said, hey, how can we be innovative, not only in how we produce, but how we go to market? And that was, hey, look at our lapse of coverage out in the marketplace with only, 100 dealers. we'll continue to support them, continue to work with those dealers day in, day out. We're going to continue to grow that dealer market, but there are a lot of folks out there that we aren't touching. And as we all know, to the point of what you and I are doing right now, we have the innovation of the internet and social media. And what does that allow us? Well, that allows us an opportunity to market on behalf of those dealers out there in the marketplace and build a direct to consumer connection. And then also an ability to go on ahead and have a conversation where we can ship those bows to the doors of individuals that don't have an Xpedition dealer near them. And, I can tell you over the last 3 to 4 months, buddy, that like, man, it's been amazing how many people say, man, I see what you guys are doing on Facebook. I see what you're doing on your website. I'm watching your videos. I'm really intrigued, but I don't have a dealer within 200 miles of me. How does this work? And so that was really the impetus of us integrating the bow builder, the custom bow builder here at expeditionarchery.com, which person can hop on, they can build their own bow, they can customize, hundreds of different options when it comes to riser colors or limb colors, right down to string colors to, the actual, which I think is pretty darn neat myself, is the ancillary parts colors. So we can choose black or flat dark earth. So you can see here, just as an example with the bow I'm showing you over to the left, I have flat dark earth cams and flat dark earth limb pockets rather than the traditional black that you see on most of the marketplace's bows. So it's just another way to be creative in the decoration, but you can customize that. And then with the simple task of measuring the center of D loop to center of peep sight measurement on your current bow, I think it's because I'm sharing the screen. I'm not able to do what I'm normally doing. I'm dragging something wrong there. All right, there we go. So peep to D loop measurement. So you can measure the center of peep to center of D loop measurement on your current bow that you have right now. And we have the ability to go in a little bit of IT technology that allows for us to take that measurement and place your peep in this bow along with your D loop, and go on ahead and get your bow set up from a peep and D loop standpoint so that we can ship that bow right to your doorstep. And if you didn't buy a rest from us, you slap your rest on this bow from your other bow, get it set up, and maintain those measurements, those center shot measurements if you can. But otherwise, we'll just do it for you right out of the factory and send this bow right to your door ready to shoot. And we've had a lot of people, it's not a perfect measurement. We go on ahead and we do paper tune them. But for those of you guys that know archery are going to know that there are anatomical differences in my hand versus your hand, and versus our buddy Bob's hand or our bow technician John's hand, and so there might be a slight tear left or right. Up and down is probably going to be nailed, but man, we're going to get you darn close. We're going to give you a good platform to start from. And that's the whole intent. So we call it a baseline tune. So we can go on ahead and baseline tune that bow for you. We can get a peep sight in it. We can get a D loop in it. We can tie that peep in for you. And man, we just continue as we sell more and more and more X lights through this custom bow builder to have people come back and say, man, the bow landed at my door. You already had a rest on it. I went on ahead and bought a new sight from you. I got that on there. I drew back. The peep was right. Man, everything looked real good. And all I had to do was just adjust my pins a little bit and I'm ready to go. So we haven't perfected it, but we can get it pretty darn close for everybody and land it right at their door. And we can ship it to their local dealer if they prefer that. If they don't have an Xpedition dealer, but there's a Hoyt guy down the street that they say, hey, I'm going to go pay that guy to set up the rest of the bow for me. Can you just ship it to me? We can ship it right to his door too. You just got to let us know where you want it shipped. So we've been very fortunate. That's been out on the market for about the last 60 days. And man, it's going gangbusters right now. It's not the best time of year to launch a new platform in the archery industry with everybody out in the field. But man, we've been really impressed with the response so far. And we're really looking forward to, our January launch of the 2024 models and people really getting to experience the custom bow builder at a greater level. So.
Yeah, that's pretty good where it comes in. It's, a lot. I know there's a lot of archers out there that not really sure how to set them up, and if you can get them where it's at least close.
Yeah.
And yeah, I can shoot and paper tune it, shoot it perfect, and give it to somebody else, and they can't tear a decent hole.
Yeah. Oh yeah, man. Yeah. It can
The
change
chair
very
doesn't
quickly.
mean its bow's set up right. It just means the bow's right and your grip is and your technique is good.
That's right. The
You
bow's
know,
right for that individual, in that case. And that's one of the nice things about, learning over the years to operate different cam systems is, I used to work for Bowtech. So you had an overdrive binary cam system where you had the binary cam system, but then you had split yokes on top and bottom, and it allowed for you to adjust cam lean individual so that you could get that just right. And at that point in time, that was a real advantage to the marketplace because, as a bow technician, which you've worked in an archery shop, you walk
yeah.
in and you paper tune somebody, and the best way to do it is to get that individual in your shop, get them to shoot the bow in front of you, and you make the adjustments, because to your point, your hand's going to be different than theirs in most
Right.
cases. You can get it pretty close, and every once in a while you might hit one just right. But man, I can't tell you the amount of times that I've been in a bow shop and watch a bow technician send a bow out the door and just know, like, I watch that guy shoot and I watch that bow technician shoot. That's not good. That's, once he walks out this door, that thing's not shooting bullet holes anymore,
Yeah.
so.
Yeah. I get a story. This guy come in, he's having trouble. He couldn't group nothing. So he's like, I want to go to a drop away. So, okay. So I put a drop away on. And of course, you have to shoot a drop away to make sure it's going to operate.
Oh yeah.
So I go out there, and there's a couple of guys in the range, and I take one shot and take another shot and stick the two arrows together. And so the guys say, "How did somebody do this?" Yeah, that's not unusual. I've done it a few times.
Yep.
And but don't even sure. Yeah, I don't have any of mine right here handy, but um, so then the guy come in and says, "Yeah, I just could not get it to group." So I stuck two arrows together. It ain't the bow now.
Yep. Nope.
It's like,
Nope.
okay, I put two in the same hole.
Yep.
It just so
Yep.
happened one was the hole in the back of the arrow shaft, and
Yep. Yeah. Yep. Man, you spend a lot of time around a shop and a lot of time around bows, and you start to know when you're about to face that occurrence. But it's also, man, that's one of the things I loved about it was, man, like having a new archer, or maybe an archer that doesn't have that kind of experience on the range, that you can kind of share your knowledge with and help them through, whatever their hurdle might be. Maybe it's target panic. That's a common one that a lot of people face, is they
right,
punch triggers or pull. I went through a phase of target panic here, 7-8 years ago, where for some reason I was shooting a thumb button, and I just got into this phase where I would lock into a target, start my squeeze process, and right before I'd squeeze, I'd pull up and I'd shoot 2-3 inches up. It just didn't matter. I couldn't get out of it. And it was just a mental thing, but just, helping people get through moments like that, or teaching them proper form, or where to properly hold a bow, or not to squeeze it every time, to squeeze their grip every time and turn that bow or torque that bow right or left, depending on which hand they are. And, we all start somewhere. Not all of us are fortunate to have, a good teacher to help us start in the bow hunting or archery world. And so, I always enjoyed it. You never knew what you were going to see when you went into a new shop. And, I was really lucky when I worked for Bowtech, and now doing the same for Xpedition in some regards, having the ability to go into all these neat little bow shops across the country and get to visit with a new group of people that all have a common bond, which is archery, or bow hunting, and share our interest or best practices or whatever it is. You never know what you're going to learn, man, or how you're going to help somebody, but more importantly, you never know what you're going to learn. More times than not. I always enjoyed it. Always enjoyed it.
well, you learn quite a bit by teaching somebody else.
You do.
And
Yep.
then you're going through teaching somebody else, and then you watch a video. You're doing it's like, that ain't what I'm telling everybody to do. Why am I doing that? That's not what I tell everybody to do. I need to do this, and
Yep.
that's hard to actually to coach yourself, even by looking at the videos, because it's like, okay, I'm going through this, and then you look at it, it's like, that's not what I was supposed to be doing. And then you
Oh
go
yeah.
back, and one of the things that I've found that helps with technique is shooting with your eyes closed.
Yep.
If you're having target panic, go up to the target so you're 3 feet away from it and shoot.
Close
You
those
can't have
eyes.
target panic if you can't
Yep.
see your target.
Just let it go. Yep. Yep,
Yeah.
that's exactly right. Yeah, it is. And I think what got me through that then, actually, talking about learning, Mark Rarick is a gentleman that owns an archery shop in Springfield, Missouri, great guy. And I was working for Bowtech when I had this, but my wife and I just had our second child, and I was working on getting my MBA and in the evenings during the week at the same time, and I was traveling a good bit, and there's just a lot going on. And I walked into Mark's shop one day there in Springfield, and I was talking to him, and I said, man, I was talking to my buddy, Joe Dumars, that I work with here. And so, man, I was just telling him, I was like, gosh, I've got target pain. Like I just can't figure it out. I'm shooting 2 to 3 inches high. I said, I'm locked into my spot. And as I start my squeeze, I end up pulling it up. And he said, hold on, I got something for you. And I said, okay. He disappeared around the corner and came back, and he handed me a brass handled Scott Longhorn, true hinge release, and back tension release. He said, hey, take this home. And I was like, oh no. At that point in time, I'd not messed with any hinge releases. I was a hunter, and I'd shot competitively, but and quite a bit, but I was like, no. I don't want to start with something like that. And I can't use it in the woods anyway. He goes, oh no. He's like, I use mine in the woods all the time. He's like, I'm telling you. He said, just take it home, get in front of the target, just like you said, close your eyes, and just start going through the process. Teach yourself how to use it, get comfortable with it, just start going through the process. And that's what brought me out of it. But he, at that point in time, he said, listen, things have changed for you in life. And he said, you're not the 19, 20, 21-year-old kid that was carefree and, only worried about yourself and, had some homework to get done and go to the football game on the weekends and then go hunt all weekend. You're not that individual anymore. He said, you've got a career that you're working on, and you have a wife, and you have children, and you have education, and you've got work, and he said, you've got these things. He said, your mind isn't as free as it used to be. And, you're starting to go through this process where you're trying to hurry things up. You're always trying to rush things. And he said, that comes out on the archery range unless you train it out. And I just remember, that Scott Longhorn, which I still have today. I tried to return it to Mark at one point, and he said, no, that's yours. You keep it, hold on to it. And so I still have that Scott Longhorn today. And anytime I get into a little bit of a phase, you have to kind of teach yourself to get out there, and it's therapeutic anyway now, man. There's just something about drawing a bow back and letting an arrow fly that it's just ingrained in us. I think it goes back quite further than what we even imagine. That it just, man, it's a pretty darn neat thing. It slows the mind down and gets the soul right, for sure.
One of the things I used to carry with me when I was doing a lot of 3Ds and shit stuff is I had a string made out of loop material, because I had a big roll of loop material. And I'd make a loop that fit around my thumb. That was my draw link that I could hook a loop on the other end. And now then, as I go through my technique, that string should go straight from your hand towards the target.
Yep.
If it hangs up on your hand or doesn't go towards your target, your form is off.
Yep.
So that's how you can practice your form. Shoot your TV, because the string's not going to go there and hurt the TV.
No, it's not going to hurt anything.
Pick a spot and shoot it, and then go pick it up, and it should always go straight. And if it doesn't go straight, your form's off. And once you get that back, your form's back on it. And I've done that a few times, pull it out, and I end up losing it. But it's like I don't know which bag I put it in or whatever. But I always kept it with me, and I go out, and it's like, if I have trouble, then it's like, go through that, and it's like, okay, it launched straight, forms back.
It's enjoyable. All those little knickknacks and tricks, man. I've seen a lot of them after being in, hundreds of archery shops now over the years. It's pretty neat to see all the different ones, but yeah.
Yeah. And that's kind of, some of this stuff that we're talking about. It's like, hey, we're going to help some archer that's listening to this or watching this. It's like, oh yeah, I'm having trouble with that.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Okay. That's what I want to do.
Yep.
And it's all about, me learning from you, you learning from me, and both of us teaching our listeners and the people watching.
That's exactly right. Yeah. I'll tell you, another one I learned was consistency, just in your equipment, and by that, I mean, using the same equipment for a while, as long as it wasn't bad equipment or it wasn't failing equipment, and I kind of got spoiled when I started working in the archery industry. I'd get new bows all the time, and I get new sights, and I get, the occasional new release, and maybe I'd choose a new type of arrows because I ran across the Victory archery rep, or I ran across the gold tip rep, or the Easton rep. And, you never know when we're in the industry together, what we're trading or what we're doing. And it was much the same for me in media, working at the publications. I've remained an archery guru, and if I took you downstairs and showed you my closet with all the bows, my favorite bows that I've kept over the years, you'd wonder what was wrong with me. I said, my wife has a shoe collection. I have a bow collection, but,
Yeah.
but one of the things I learned is that, man, when you get into that habit of, picking up a new bow every year, which is, it is common for a lot of us that, get the bug. You pick up a new bow every year, and at times, man, you don't ever really settle into a bow, or you don't settle into your equipment. And, I've learned over the years that, especially with like sights and things that maybe I don't need to turn over as much, and, to really pick a favorite, and pick a favorite, fiber optic size for my pins, or, pick a favorite length of my stabilizer. So I try to make that setup as common as possible. But even when you hop from model to model, it can be just as tough on your shooting consistency, because you're going from you might have two different 31-inch axle to axle bows, or two different 30-inch axle to axle bows, but one has a larger cam size to it. So your string angles are actually different, or where that hold is on the cam might be different, and it changes that string angle, or maybe the draw cycle is different. So you settling into that back wall is a little different because you come through the valley a little quicker, and it's shorter. The peak of the draw force curve is a little more harsh, or it's a little more on the front end. And so there's things that vary from bow to bow that can change your shooting style if you're not careful. And so if a guy gets the ability to really settle into a bow and really learn to shoot it, and spend some time, and by time I mean years behind it, not just 12 months, but 2, 3, 4 years behind it, man, the benefits I've seen of that in the field, and how it translates to bow hunting when you have a bow and a setup that you're really confident in, the things that, you kind of, I guess, you mitigate the amount of things that you are worried about as you go through a draw force curve, and you're drawing on that big buck or that turkey, or, if you're fortunate enough to go hunt an antelope or a mule deer or an elk or whatever else it might be, a bear, you kind of remove the things that could potentially cause you a little insecurity, in your shooting, your shooting form, or just your shooting process. And you're more so focused on, hey, I need to put that pin right where it needs to be on this animal or this target. And, that's the only thing I need to worry about doing right now. I don't have to worry about whether or not I'm going to be able to come through that valley like I need to, or really settle into that spongy back wall, even though it's a little spongy, or those little things that you just get used to out of your equipment. I think there's a lot of value in being able to do that for somebody. If they can find the time and ability, and make themselves do that. I know it's hard, and that new bow hits the marketplace, whatever it might be, and your buddy goes and gets it, and you really want to get it too. And I know it's hard, but man, I think there's real value the older I get in being able to get a good setup and really settle into it for 2 or 3 years.
Well, I think I've settled into my hunting bow. It's 22 years old, and and my target bow, the other one I use, is 20 years old. I do have a newer one that's probably about 5 or 6 years old, but I've never shot it.
Yep.
That one I got and was able to need a new string, and then one of the string dampeners, the screw was messed up. So, I fixed all that, and I just haven't set anything up. It's in a snow camo.
Oh, sweet. That's cool.
Yeah. I forget which model it was. It was a bear. The original price was $900 just for the bear bow, the bow with nothing on it. So it was a high-end bow. I forget the name of it because I looked at it when I was working on it, and I haven't even bothered to put a rest on it.
I wonder, Elite Archery did several bow models in snow. It was AP, Realtree AP Snow. And they were cool looking bows. They were really cool looking bows. I wonder if it's not one of those.
Yeah, it was made by Bear.
Oh, it was a Bear. Okay, I
Yeah,
apologize.
it was a
Yeah, I didn't hear that. I apologize.
Bear
So,
manufacturer, Bear, but not a.
yep, yep,
But that's kind of weird. It's a
yeah.
bear bow.
It's a bear bow. Yeah, I
It's
get
a
you.
bear bow. It's a bear
Bear
bow. Oh,
archery
bear.
bear. It's a bear BARE bear archery bow. There
Right,
you
right.
go. Yeah. Yep. Yep. No, that's neat. I'll have to go back. I'm curious. I love looking back at bows. I think it's cool. I've been, and I know I haven't been around them. My introduction to archery really kind of probably early 90s, late 80s, just looking at grandpa's Martin on the wall and a bear recurve as well on the wall, and my uncle getting into it and starting to shoot golden eagles, and before that he had a bear as well. That was really kind of that phase, like the Browning micros that you mentioned and some of those early
Yeah.
PSEs that you mentioned. And my very first bow, I told you about the Q2 XL, but the very first bow I bought off my cousin right down the road because I knew I wanted to bow hunt. I knew it. I just knew it growing up on the farm and everything. My cousin had bought a bow, but he didn't ever use it. And he had a PSE USA Junior. And that was my first bow. And I can remember still buying the micro diameter carbon beam and arrows from Walmart that Walmart was selling in Kirksville, Missouri, and getting some old Allen broadheads. They were Allen 3-blade broadheads that I shot through that thing and shooting my first buck from the split of a maple tree down on my grandpa's farm.
Yeah.
About 10 feet up, had crawled up into it, had a couple screw-in steps. I think I'd probably bought 3 or 4 of them at Walmart, and climbed up into the fork of that tree, that maple tree. And I can still remember letting that first arrow go and hearing it pop. And I didn't find him. I didn't find him for about 2 months. I ended up finding him later on. And I looked, my buddy, Jason Dawson, we looked and looked and looked for that deer. But it was also a big motivation as to why I went on ahead and bought a newer, bigger bow. I figured
Yeah.
that would be a problem,
The first compound I shot was the Bear Whitetail 2 that my
Oh,
brother
yeah.
bought. And I shot that for quite a bit. And
Yep.
we shot the old Game Getters,
Yep.
the green ones. We have some of those that the tip was silver. They weren't green.
Yeah.
We were all anodizing off of them.
Oh, yeah. Yep.
And then the first one I bought was the American Challenger.
Okay.
And then High Country bought them out.
Mm-hmm.
And the bow broke in half. It was a magnesium riser.
Yep. That's the old magnesium.
The old magnesium.
Yep.
And it broke. So I'm looking for another bow. This is like 2 weeks for hunting season.
Oh, yeah. That's when it happened.
And I'm down shooting. So that's when I got my first PSE. I forget which the model was now. And then I had that for many years. And then I got some money saved up. And that's when I bought my Q2.
Okay.
A couple years later, I bought it was called the tackle box, which is, we had bait and tackle and archery and archery range. And I sold black powder stuff, and I had martial arts equipment in there, and all kinds of stuff in there.
Yeah.
And that's when I got my first, my second PSE, and then I'm selling off the other 2. And the rest on it was an overdraw on that first PSE.
Oh, yeah.
So that's how we got extra speed out of it.
Oh, yeah.
It was one of those rests, just the 2 prongs. And in order to adjust the inside prong, you had to take the screw out, take the outside prong off to adjust the inside one, put the prong back on, and then put it back in. So I eventually got it where it was shooting perfect. And so I told the kid when I sold it to him, I says, unless you change rest, shoot aluminum 25-12s. It shoots perfect with those. Don't change nothing else until you change the rest.
Mm-hmm.
Because it was set up to shoot those perfectly, and it shot them great. And it's one of those, that's how it's set up. Leave it that way, and just stay with that. Who knows where it's at now? Maybe y'all destroyed, who knows? But
it's hard telling, man. Yep. Yeah, I love it. I think back to it. If people would know what to think if they ended up with a or a bear with the overdraw system. These boys today wouldn't know. They'd be like, what in the world is that? What are you shooting? But it's neat to look back at it, and in the grand scheme of things, that really isn't that far back, and to think how archery was founded with Fred Bear and Saxton, and go down the list. I mean, it just so many neat historical elements to it, and we bicker and complain about a lot of stuff we shouldn't as a community at times,
Yeah.
we're fortunate to have what we have and to see the advances that we have, but it's pretty darn neat. It's pretty
Well,
darn,
when you think about it, archery is about 64,000 years old,
yeah.
and everybody shot a stick with a string, shooting a stick, which is archery.
Yep.
For how many thousands of years? And it wasn't until out of 64,000, the last couple hundred
Yeah.
is where they even started thinking about getting any more modern. But it's
Yep.
only in the last probably 40 years. The first compound was in the late 60s.
Yeah.
It was in the mid 70s before you really were able to really buy them.
Mm-hmm.
So, and now it's like the Bear Whitetail 2 and in Whitetail, that series,
Oh yeah.
in the mid 70s when they really become available.
Yep.
So then you take in the mid 70s to now, that's 50 years. Look where we've gone from looking at the old Bear Whitetail 2. Those, if you haven't seen one, Google Bear Whitetail 2 and see what it looked like.
Oh
And,
yeah.
and now look at what the new bows are and what Xpedition is now putting out.
Yeah.
Look at the advancement here, and just it wasn't that long ago when the center shot design riser was patented.
Oh yeah.
And you know who patented the center shot design riser?
Mm-mm. I don't know.
PSE.
Who was it? PSE?
PSE.
Yeah. Yeah.
They held many patents, and so everybody that's shooting a center shot design riser is because of PSE's patent that they allowed everybody to copy.
Yep. Yep. And there's a lot of that in the industry. A lot of people don't realize that there's a lot of shared technology, like the cam system that we use, the synchronized cam system. That's a shared technology. And, right down to the weight designs in cams that you have now. And, if you pay close attention to some of these newer cams, you'll see that, in the boot of the cam, you'll get a weight in there that'll help increase speed and balance. And, there's so many things that, right down to your string attachment post within a cam design. There's patents around those that are shared, and risers designs, reflex versus deflex, and cable designs, like you said, the shoot through riser, bridge risers, like cam pockets, the way they're developed. And there's a lot of shared technology across the industry, and a lot of people don't realize that. It's pretty neat to see how we've all come to work together.
Yeah. Well, and then I noticed on that bow you have a floating Y cable.
Mm-hmm.
That's an old design. I've seen bows many years ago that had that same design on it.
Yeah. Yep. Yeah. It's been around for a while, just different forms of that yoke connection, for sure. So,
and which boat was that had it, but
PSE runs one that's similar. Matthews
yeah.
runs that's similar, in design, and people could probably debate a little bit on the old overdrive binary cam system with split yokes there being similar in the same regard. It's a lot of shared technology when you look at it logistically. The same presentations there, compositions there, and the presentation's just a little bit different, but it's all good, man. I think it's just neat, and finding the new ways, to watch some of these companies, the way that they're innovating accessories now, and Matthews being one of those companies with everything that they're doing in their bridge lock system and everything that they're doing. So it's just neat to see how people are, innovating what they do. Hoyt with their onboard bow stand mounts, and, just all kinds of neat things that I just love to see how people get more creative and push the note just a little bit more and try to improve the experience. And I'm a firm believer in the fact that the bow hunter or archer has never had a better time to go in and shoot multiple bows from multiple companies and have multiple options that could work for them. It's the marketplace is really in their favor right now. They have an opportunity to go in there and really find that bow that is the best bow for them. And it may not even, the crazy thing is, it may not even be a bow from this year. It may be a bow that's 2 or 3 years old that just happens to be sitting there on the shelf still, and the technology there is awesome, across the board. So it's really a bow hunter's market for sure right now.
You're right. Yeah, and there's your floating yoke system, being someone that makes my own strings, when you make a traditional Y cable, you've got to make sure they're both the same length. You got to twist them because that is going to twist that cam. Where with the
Yep.
floating one, it doesn't, it's not as important because
Right.
you twist it twists the whole thing,
Right. Exactly. Yeah.
So there, I can see advantages to it, but as a string maker, it's more of a pain to do because now instead of the string you have, you got each cable plus you got the two little short ones, and
Plus you got your yoke cables. Yeah. Yeah. So
yeah,
you end up with 4 total cables um and a string, across the board for sure.
yeah. Now if you have just a single cam, then you have two strings, one great big old long one, 100 plus
Yep.
inches long normally, and if you don't have that, you got
Yep.
three to make,
Yep. Yep.
which is all right. The
Oh,
nice
yeah.
thing about making your own strings is like, okay, when I had store, it's like, what color want your string? Because then you come to your string. Well, black. No, you can't have black. You got to have at least another color or a different color.
Gotta have one more
No,
color.
now if your bow was all black,
Give me a
that'd be a different
buckskin or
story.
a fluorescent orange or flow green or
make
yellow.
something.
Yeah. Add some color to it. Yeah, it's been fun.
Yeah,
Yeah.
for those that are seeing, here's some samples I made up of different strings when I was thinking about putting them on a new string, blue and gold, a whole bunch of different colors. And I use BCY cables
Yep.
material.
Yep.
I
BCY
think
is great
they're
with
probably
it.
the best.
Yeah.
And there is just in your 8125, and then you got your 452X, and you have all these other ones, and then your B50s, for
Yep.
traditional bows. There's probably at least a dozen or more different colors, single colors that you can get. And then you got some other colors that are combinations, and
Do some speckles and
yeah.
Yep.
What color you want?
They do a lot of different. Yep. Yeah.
And that
I
way
just
you
did
just do
I just
whatever you
did
want to do. What colors you want?
I just did a complete, this was a first for me. I'd never run this string color before, but on my Xlite 33, I ran a complete buckskin. So kind of a tan to match the flat dark earth ancillaries that I had. And I'd never had one before. And boy, it just really helped with that accent. It's pretty. But yeah, I did a flow green on my Xlite 31 that I first built. And that kind of matches some of the accents of the colors and stuff that we run here within the portfolio and at TGR and whatnot. So it did flow green. I'll mix it up every once in a while. I've gotten away from red for quite a while. I ran red, and I just come to find the superstitious side of me seems to think that when I have red accents to my bow setup, I just don't fill as many tags for some reason. So I've decided that I'm staying away from red from now on.
Stay away from red.
Yep, that's not my color. It doesn't work. It doesn't work for me for some reason. But yep. Man, I really appreciate you having me on. This has been a great conversation, and like you said, I hope somebody gets a little bit of something out of it. I hope we didn't waste too much of their time tonight, and it's been a real pleasure getting to be a part of this podcast, the Archery Talk 101 podcast.
Yeah, it's fun. I always enjoy doing these, and check out the other ones. Check out your website. And I'll put some links in the description for your website. So they make it easier to get out there. You can just click on the link and go there. I'll put that in the description for the podcast as well as on the YouTube channel. I'll put that in there, link there, so it makes it easier to find. And we just talk archery.
Yeah, man.
Sometimes we get businesses on, sometimes we get just new people on, and anywhere from teenagers just starting out to old guys like me.
Oh man, we need to appreciate and pass on the lifestyle. We really do. And it's, I hear a lot of people talk about the fact that, oh, it's a passing skill set, and it's a passing pastime for that matter in some cases. But I've got 3 little boys now, and they're just about as excited as anything to get their bows. We just got some new Xpedition Experience bows for them, and they're kind of graduating in size. And to see the joy that it brings them and how much fun we can have as a father and sons, and to see them care about it in the way that I did. It's like I said earlier, I think it's just instinctual in us. And like you called out, it's been 64,000 years of archery in our history, and our heritage. And man, it dates back farther than any of us can even imagine within our family lines and ties and bloodlines. And
Yeah.
I just hope that we can do our best to continue to carry it on and hopefully grow it. I really look forward to the day that it starts to grow. And we see that from a recreational side. We've seen definitely some growth opportunities or curves in the last 10 years or last decade. And even one influenced largely by Hollywood with the Hunger Games at one point in
Oh
time.
yeah, that was a big push for a lot of people
Yeah.
wanting to get bows and
Yeah. Yeah.
the nice thing that I forget the name that played Katniss, but she was actually taught by an Olympic archer,
Mm-hmm.
and you
Yep.
can see it in the way she shoots. Any of us that know
Oh yeah.
anything about Olympic archery, he's
Yep.
like, okay, you can tell that she is shooting like an Olympic archer, and
Seriously.
yeah, it was pretty good. There's a lot of archery going on, and I've talked to a few people on the podcast that there was basically no tournaments around them.
Yeah.
They started one. Now it's getting huge.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
just people want to do stuff and get outside, and it's something that you can do, the whole family can do. There's no age requirement.
Yep.
There's no minimum age or maximum age. There's no minimum or maximum physical ability.
Yep.
Whether you're physically able, or you're missing an arm or missing both arms, or we had I went out to last year and the year before. I went to Nebraska, has a Missouri Valley Outdoor Expo up at
Yep.
Ponca State Park, north part of Nebraska, over on the east end. And this last year, this girl come through that was missing an arm. Most of the front of her arm from had no hand, and partway back was gone. And she was shooting a bow.
Oh yeah.
We got her set up to shoot a bow.
Yep. Yep.
Yeah. And then we hooked up with Matt Stutzman, which is the armless archer. He
Yep.
has no arms, and he's shoots a bow.
Yep.
Very well.
Mouth tab in a foot. Yeah. I was actually going to bring him up, and I know I've seen memes or little videos float around social that says, like what's your excuse with Matt, and people will use those. And there's a lot of truth to that, like, hey, it could be worse. It could really be worse. And, we kind of take our opportunities for granted at times. I'm guilty. I'll tell you that right now. And I think you get a little bit older, you get caught up in life and careers and everything you're doing, and you feel sorry for yourself every once in a while. But I think that, you see a photo like that, or get to hear a little bit of Matt's story or other archers, or that girl's that, I don't know her, but just to hear her, and makes you think, man, why am I not outside shooting my bow every day that I can?
Yeah.
Like what a joy and what an opportunity, what a privilege to be able to do it. And yeah, it's like you said, no limitations. We should all be doing it. But
yeah, and I'm working on getting Matt on the podcast here one of these days, where I've met him a couple of times, talked to him, and I just texted him. It's like, hey, number 150 is coming up, because
there you
that's
go.
a perfect score in archery, and it's like he wants to be on that one, so let's get scheduled so we can get it recorded.
There you go. Well,
perfect archer for a perfect score, right?
There you go. Well, if I can help you get any closer to getting Matt up on 150, give me another call back. Maybe we can find something to talk about, some late season bow hunting or something. We'll get you one closer. All right.
Yeah, we're already there. I think this is number 144.
Oh, perfect. Man, you're getting it.
I just texted him tonight and said, hey, Matt, we need to get you on here. I'm recording 144.
There you go, man. That's awesome. Well, I look forward to hearing that one. I'll want to sit down, and hopefully I'll get to watch it. But either way, I look forward to listening or watching it.
Yeah, it'll be cool. he was interested. I've talked to him a couple times when I was up to Expo. He was there last year and the year before, and so I've talked to him, and you know, nice guy, and his family's nice too. And
Awesome.
it's gonna be. I'm gonna enjoy talking to him when we get him on there.
For
I
sure.
don't think he's answered back yet. I just texted him here a couple hours ago.
Oh,
So yeah, we'll get him on, and we'll get others on. And hey, if you know an archer that likes to talk archery, more than welcome to get on. Let's talk archery.
perfect. I know a few of them. We'll see if we can't make some arrangements here post podcast, and we'll get you lined up, man. For
Yeah.
sure.
All right. My name is Roy Canterbury. I'm your host today on Arch Talk 101 with Laden, and we are going to call this one over. And just stay tuned for the next one, because the next one's going to be an exciting one as well. I'm not going to tell you who it is until we get there, but we'll catch you on the next one.